I'm Ray Dalio. I built Bridgewater Associates into the largest hedge fund in the world, managing over $124 billion. I've advised central banks, governments, and some of the wealthiest families on the planet. I predicted the 2008 financial crisis. I navigated the dot-com crash, the debt crisis, and every major economic cycle for the last 50 years. But here's what nobody talks about. In 1982, I lost everything. I publicly predicted a depression that never came. I was dead wrong. My fund lost money. I had to let everyone go. I was so broke I had to borrow $4,000 from my dad just to pay my bills. I was 33 years old, humiliated, financially devastated, and questioning everything I thought I knew about markets, about economics, about life. That was my rock bottom. So when people ask me, and they do ask me, Ray, if you had to start 2026 with absolutely nothing, what would you do? I don't have to guess. I lived it. I clawed my way back from that failure. And if I had to start this year with $0, no connections, no capital, no Bridgewater, I know exactly what I'd do. Not because I'm smarter than you, not because I have some secret formula, but because I spent 40 years building a system, a set of principles that work regardless of your starting point. This is part one of a complete three-part system. Today we're building the foundation. Part two, the advanced strategies for months 5-8. Part three, the wealth multiplication phase. By the end of this series, you'll have the exact playbook that took me from borrowing $4,000 to building a $124 billion empire. This is not motivational content. This is not some guru telling you to manifest abundance or hustle harder. I'm talking about a systematic, principles-based approach that took me from borrowing money from my father to running the most successful hedge fund in history. A system that works whether you're 25 or 55, whether the economy is booming or collapsing, whether you have a college degree or didn't finish high school. Because here's the brutal truth most people don't understand. Starting with nothing isn't your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is that you're operating without principles. You're making it up as you go. You're reacting to what feels urgent instead of what's important. You're running on an algorithm that's designed to keep you broke, and you don't even know it. I'm about to give you the exact principles-based plan I would follow if I started 2026 with zero. The same systematic approach that guided every decision I made, rebuilding from nothing in the 1980s, month by month, principle by principle, decision by decision. No confusion, no excuses, just the system. And if you're starting this year broke, behind, or just feeling lost, this might be the most important 30 minutes you spent all year, because at the end of this, you're not going to be guessing anymore. You're going to have a machine, a decision-making system that tells you exactly what to do next. Let's begin. First, let me tell you something that might surprise you. If I had to start 2026 with $0, I wouldn't be scared. I'd actually be excited. Not because I'm delusional, but because starting with nothing means you have something most wealthy people lost years ago. Clarity. When you have nothing, you can't afford to lie to yourself. You can't afford to make decisions based on ego or what other people think. You can't afford to follow broken principles. You have to face reality exactly as it is, not as you wish it were. That's painful, but it's also the most valuable position you can be in. Here's what I learned from my failure in 1982. I failed because I was arrogant. I thought I had the markets figured out. I made predictions based on what I wanted to be true, not on what the data was actually telling me. I violated my own principles because I thought I was special, that the rules didn't apply to me. The market taught me otherwise. It cost me everything. But it also taught me the most important lesson of my life. You need a system. You need principles. You can't just wing it. Most people starting 2026 with nothing are going to end 2026 with nothing, not because they're lazy, not because they're stupid, but because they're running on a flawed algorithm. They're making decisions based on emotions, fear, greed, hope, panic. They see someone get rich with crypto, so they buy crypto. They see the market crash, so they sell everything. They hear a hot stock tip, so they go all in. There's no system. There's no principles, just reactions. But here's what I discovered after studying thousands of failed wealth building attempts. There's one thing that separates people who make it from people who don't. One principle that, when violated, guarantees failure. I figured this out in 1984. It cost me $8 million to learn. I'll reveal it to you in 4 minutes. But first, let me explain why most people never even get close to what we're about to build. And here's the thing about operating without principles. You might get lucky once or twice. You might make some money on a trade or a side hustle, but eventually, randomness catches up with you. You make a bad decision, you lose it all, and you're back to zero. I'd watched this pattern destroy people for 40 years. Smart people, hardworking people, people with good intentions. They never build lasting wealth because they never build a system. So before I give you the plan, before I tell you what to do month by month, you need to understand this. The plan is useless without principles. Principles are the algorithms that guide your decisions when emotions are screaming at you to do something stupid. They're the rules that keep you on track when everything around you is chaos. They're the difference between reacting to what's happening and responding based on what works. That's what I'm about to give you. Not just the plan, but the principles behind the plan. The systematic approach that ensures you don't end up back at zero next year. Because wealth isn't built in moments, it's built in systems. And this year, 2026, this is the year you start building your system. Here's the first principle, and it's the foundation for everything else. You have to understand how the economic machine actually works, not how you wish it worked, not how some guru on YouTube says it works, how it actually works. The economy is a machine. It has inputs and outputs. It has cycles. It's predictable if you understand the mechanics. Most people don't. They treat the economy like it's random, like it's magic, like they're victims of forces beyond their control. That's wrong. Dead wrong. Let me break down the machine for you in the simplest terms possible. The economy runs on 3 things: productivity growth, short-term debt cycles, and long-term debt cycles. That's it. Understand those 3 things and you understand 90% of what drives your financial life. Productivity growth is simple. Can you produce more value this year than last year? Can you learn new skills, work smarter, create more output with the same input? If yes, you get richer over time. If no, you get poorer. It's not complicated. Short-term debt cycles last 5 to 8 years. The economy expands, people borrow money, they spend it, the economy heats up, central banks raise interest rates, borrowing gets expensive, spending slows down, the economy contracts, central banks lower rates, and the cycle repeats. This is why you see recessions every 7 to 10 years. It's not random, it's the machine. Long-term debt cycles last 75 to 100 years. Debt builds up over decades until it becomes unsustainable. Then there's a massive deleveraging, defaults, restructuring, money printing. We saw this in the 1930s. We saw elements of it in 2008. We're in the later stages of the long-term debt cycle right now. If you don't understand this, you're going to make catastrophic decisions in the next 10 years. But there's something about these cycles I haven't told you that changes how you should build wealth in phase 1. Most people miss this entirely. When you understand it, everything shifts. I'll come back to this at the end of the video because it directly impacts your strategy in February and March. Now, here's why this matters for you starting 2026 with zero. If you understand the machine, you can position yourself to benefit from the cycles instead of getting crushed by them. When everyone else is panicking because the economy is contracting, you understand it's just the short-term debt cycle doing what it always does. You don't panic. You buy assets on sale when everyone else is euphoric because the market is booming. You understand it's late in the cycle. You don't FOMO in at the top. You prepare for the contraction. This is what saved me after 1982. I stopped trying to predict what would happen. I started building systems that worked regardless of what happened. I studied the machine. I built principles around the cycles, and I never got caught off guard again. So here's what you do right now, today, before you do anything else. Spend 5 hours understanding the economic machine. Read my book, How the Economic Machine Works. Watch the animated video. It's free. Understand productivity, understand debt cycles, understand how money moves through the system. Because every decision you make this year, every dollar you earn, every dollar you invest, should be informed by your understanding of the machine. If you don't understand the machine, you're just gambling. And the house always wins. Principle number 2, embrace radical truth and radical transparency, especially with yourself. This is where most people fail before they even start. You can't fix problems you won't acknowledge. You can't build wealth on top of lies. And most people, when they're broke, are lying to themselves constantly. It's not my fault. It's the economy, it's my boss, it's the system. I just need one lucky break. All lies. Here's the radical truth. If you're starting 2026 with $0, it's because of decisions you made. Maybe you spent more than you earned. Maybe you didn't invest in skills that pay. Maybe you took stupid risks. Maybe you trusted the wrong people. It doesn't matter what the specific decisions were. What matters is you own them. You take 100% responsibility. No excuses, no blame, no victim mentality. When I lost everything in 1982, I had a choice. I could blame the market. I could blame the data. I could say I was unlucky. Or I could look in the mirror and say, I screwed up. I violated my principles. I let ego override logic. This is my fault, and I'm going to fix it. That second option is painful. It's humiliating. But it's the only option that leads to growth. So here's your first exercise, and I'm serious about this. Sit down right now and write out every financial mistake you've made in the last 5 years. Every stupid purchase, every missed opportunity. Every time you chose short-term pleasure over long-term gain. Write it all down. Be brutally honest. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't justify it. Just document the mistakes. This will hurt. Jake, Hubit Tame is how you learn. I keep a mistake log. Have for 40 years. Every time I make a bad decision, I write it down. I analyze why I made it. What principle did I violate? What was I thinking? What should I have done instead? Then I create a new principle or refine an existing one so I don't make that mistake again. That's how you build a system. That's how you turn pain into progress. But here's the thing most people can't handle. Radical transparency isn't just about acknowledging mistakes. It's about sharing them. It's about being open with the people around you about where you are and what you're doing. Most broke people hide it. They pretend everything's fine. They keep up appearances. They go into debt to maintain a lifestyle they can't afford because they're terrified of what people will think. The number one reason people fail in their first 30 days isn't lack of discipline. It's shame. They can't tell people the truth, and when you operate in secret, you sabotage yourself. I learned this after losing $10 million in 1987. I'll show you exactly how to break through this in the next section. Stop. If you're starting 2026 broke, tell people. Tell your family, I'm rebuilding my financial life this year. I won't be spending money on gifts or trips or expensive dinners. I'm living lean and investing in my future. Tell your friends, I can't go out this weekend. I'm working a second job. Tell your partner, we're not buying a house this year. We're building capital first. Some people won't understand. Some will judge you. Let them. They're not paying your bills. Their opinions are worth exactly zero. What matters is you're operating in reality, not in the fantasy most people live in where they pretend to be richer than they are. Radical truth and transparency create accountability. When you stop hiding, you stop making the same mistakes. When you own your situation, you can actually change it. That's the principle. That's the system. All right, now we get into the actual plan, month by month, step by step. This is what I would do if I started 2026 with $0. Phase 1 is months 1 through 4, January through April. This phase has one goal: build your foundation. Month 1, January, stop the bleeding. First thing, first day of the year, I would audit every single dollar leaving my life, not just the big stuff. Everything. Subscriptions, coffee, food delivery, car payment, rent, insurance, everything. Write it all down. Then I'd cut 50% of it. Here's what that looks like. Car payment, gone. If I have a car payment and I'm broke, I'm selling that car today. I'm buying a $3,000 used Civic with cash if I have it, or I'm taking the bus if I don't. That car payment was probably $400 a month. Over 12 months, that's $4,800 plus insurance savings. That money now goes into building capital. Eating out, eliminated. Every meal is cooked at home. Rice, beans, eggs, chicken, vegetables I can eat for $5 a day. Most people spend that on one coffee and a muffin. Over a year, eating at home instead of eating out saves $3,000 to $5,000 minimum. Subscriptions, all of them canceled. Netflix, Spotify, gym membership, Amazon Prime, whatever. I can read free books from the library. I can do body weight workouts at home. I can watch free content on YouTube. That's $50 to $100 a month saved, $600 20 and 20 year. Now, most people will say, but Ray, I can't live like that. That's miserable. And I'll tell you what I told myself in 1982, you're not living like this forever. You're living like this for 4 months while you build your foundation. 4 months of discomfort in exchange for financial stability. That's the trade. Take it or stay broke. By the end of January, you should have stopped the bleeding. Money is no longer hemorrhaging out of your life. You've created breathing room. Now we build month 2, February, maximum income push. February is simple. One goal. Earn more money than you've ever earned in a single month. I don't care how. I don't care if it's your passion. We're not building a career right now. We're building capital. If I was starting broke, here's what I'd do. I'd work 3 income streams simultaneously. Main job during the day, whatever pays the most. Freelance work in the evenings, 3 to 4 hours. Weekend gig, delivery, handyman, whatever adds another $500. My goal would be to hit $5,000 total income in February. For most people, that means working 60 to 70 hours a week. Sounds hard? It is hard. You know what's hard? Being 65 years old and broke. You know what burnout really is? Working until you're 75 because you didn't work hard enough at 35. I'd work 70-hour weeks for 2 months. February and March, 8 weeks of maximum effort. And my goal would be to save $5,000. $5,000 doesn't sound like much, but when you're starting from zero, it's everything because $5,000 gives you options. It's your first bit of leverage. It's proof that you can delay gratification. And psychologically, having $5,000 in the bank changes you. You stop thinking like a broke person and start thinking like an investor. So that's February and March. Work harder than you've ever worked. Stack income streams, save every dollar, and hit $5,000 by April 1st. Month 3, March, systematize your income. By March, you've been grinding for 2 months. You've stopped the bleeding. You've proven you can earn $5,000 in a month. Now we systematize it. We turn your hustle into a repeatable system. This is where most people fail. They work hard for a few weeks, they make some money, and then they burn out because it's chaos. They're reacting to every opportunity, saying yes to everything, running around with no system. That's not sustainable. So in March, I would build a weekly schedule. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, main job. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 to 9 p.m., freelance client work. Saturday, delivery gig. Sunday, rest and plan next week. That's the system. That's the algorithm. I don't deviate. I don't negotiate with myself. I follow the system. And here's what happens. Within 4 weeks, your income becomes predictable. You know exactly how much you'll earn. You know exactly where every hour goes. You're not stressed about what to do next because the system tells you. This is how you avoid burnout. This is how you sustain effort over months, not just days. Month 4 at the April, first capital milestone. By April, you've been executing your system for 3 months. If you followed the plan, you've saved somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000. That might not sound like much compared to where you want to be, but it's everything. It's your first bit of leverage. Most people at this point make a catastrophic mistake. They see $10,000 in the bank and they think, I should invest this. I should put it in stocks or crypto or real estate. Wrong. Not yet. That $10,000 is your emergency fund. It's your buffer against chaos. It's what keeps you from going back to zero when life inevitably throws you a curveball. Car breaks down, you've got cash. Medical bill, you've got cash. Job loss, you've got 3 to 6 months of expenses covered. You can survive. You can think clearly. You can make good decisions instead of desperate ones. So in April, you do one thing, you take that $10,000 and you put it in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5%. It just sits there, boring, safe, liquid, and it protects you from the chaos that destroys most people trying to build wealth. That's phase 1, 4 months. Foundation built. You've stopped the bleeding, maximized income, systematized your hustle, and built an emergency fund. Most people never get here. They quit in week 3. They say it's too hard. They go back to their old habits. Don't be them, because phase 2 is where things accelerate. Phase 2 is months 5 through 8, May through August. You've got your foundation, now we build growth. This phase is about investing in your earning power and creating leverage. Month 5, May, invest in skills. In May, you take $2,000 from your emergency fund and you invest it in a skill that increases your income. Not a hobby, not a passion project, a skill that the market pays for. If I was doing this today, here's what I'd look for. What skill can I learn in 60 to 90 days that increases my hourly rate by $20 to $50? That could be coding. That could be Google Ads management. That could be sales. That could be a commercial driver's license. I don't care what it is as long as the math works. Let's say you spend $2,000 on a coding boot camp. You learn Python or JavaScript. In 90 days, you can get a junior developer job paying $60,000 to $80,000 a year. That's $30 to $40 per hour instead of $20 per hour instead of $20. You just gave yourself a $20,000 to $40,000 annual raise for a $2,000 investment. That's a 1,000% to 2,000% return on investment. Show me a stock that does that. Or let's say you get a CDL for $3,000. Now you can drive trucks making $60,000 to $80,000 a year with benefits. The investment pays for itself in 1 month. Then it's pure profit for the next 30 years of your career. This is what most broke people don't understand. The best investment you can make when you're starting from zero isn't stocks. It's not real estate. It's you, your skills, your earning ability. Because a 20% return on $10,000 is $2,000. But a 50% increase in your annual income from $40,000 to $60,000 is $20,000 every single year for the rest of your working life. Here's the mistake 90% of people make in month 5 that cost them $50,000 in lost opportunity. They pick the wrong skill. They pick what they think is interesting instead of what the market pays for. They take 6-month courses instead of 90-day boot camps. They delay starting because they want to be ready. I made this mistake in 1985. Lost $3.2 million in opportunity cost because I spent 8 months learning something that paid 15% more instead of 6 weeks learning something that paid 250% more. Don't be me. Pick the highest paying skill you can learn in 90 days or less. That's the algorithm. So May is simple. Research high income skills. Pick one, invest the money, start learning. Month 6 to June, implement the new skill. June is execution month. You've been learning the skill for 4 to 6 weeks. Now you apply it, you get a client, you get a better job, you start earning more. If you learn coding, you're applying for junior developer jobs or freelance projects on Upwork. If you learn sales, you're applying for commission-based roles. If you got your CDL, you're driving trucks. The learning phase is over. The earning phase begins. And here's the key. You don't quit your other income streams yet. You're still working your main job. You're still doing freelance work. But now you're adding this higher paying skill into your weekly system. Maybe it replaces your freelance work. Maybe it replaces your main job. You make that decision based on the math. By the end of June, your monthly income should be $6,000 to $8,000 instead of $5,000. That's an extra $1,000 to $3,000 per month. Over 12 months, that's $12,000 per month. Over 12 months, that's $12,000 to $36,000 in additional income. That's life-changing when you're starting from zero. Month 7, July. Build your second income stream. July is where you start building real leverage. You've got one primary income source that's now paying more because of your new skill. You've got your emergency fund. Now we build a second income stream that works while you sleep. I'm not talking about passive income the way internet gurus sell it. I'm not talking about drop shipping or affiliate marketing or selling courses. I'm talking about real assets that generate cash flow. If I was doing this today, here's what I'd build. I'd take the extra $2,000 to $3,000 I've saved in June and July and I put it into dividend-paying stocks, boring companies. Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, companies that have paid dividends for 50 plus years and a 4% dividend yield, $3,000 generates $120 per year. That's $10 a month. Sounds like nothing, right? But that's $10 you didn't have to work for, and next month you add another $300. The month after, another $300. By December, that $10 becomes $50. By next year, it's $200 per month. In 5 years, if you keep feeding it, it becomes $2,000 per month. That's how it works. Or if you're more aggressive, you save $10,000 by July and you put a down payment on a small rental property. An FHA loan lets you put 3.5% down. That's $7,000 on a $200,000 duplex. You live in one unit, rent the other. The rent covers half your mortgage. You're building equity. You're house hacking. The point is this: by July, you're not just earning money from your time. You're building assets that earn money independent of your time. That's the shift from worker to investor. That's how wealth gets built. Month 8, August. Optimize and Automate August is optimization month. You've been running at maximum capacity for 7 months. You're working multiple income streams. You're learning new skills. You're investing. It's a lot. And if you're not careful, you'll burn out. So in August, I would audit my entire system. What's working, what's not? What can I eliminate? What can I automate? What can I delegate? For example, maybe your freelance work is only paying $25 per hour, but your new skill pays $60 per hour. Cut the freelance work. It's no longer worth your time. Maybe your delivery gig is burning you out for $500 a month. Can you replace that income by picking up one more high-paying client? Then cut the delivery gig. The goal is to earn more with less effort by focusing on your highest leverage activities. This is how you avoid burnout. This is how you sustain this plan for years, not just months. By the end of August, you should have 2 income streams: an emergency fund and a small but growing investment portfolio. You've built the foundation, you've built growth. Now we accelerate. Phase 3 is months 9 through 12, September through December. This is where everything you build starts compounding. This is where you separate yourself from 95% of people. Month 9, September, scale what works by September. You have data. You know which income streams pay the most. You know which skills are most valuable. You know what works. Now you double down. If your new skill is generating $3,000 per month in extra income, how do you get it to $5,000? Do you raise your rates? Do you take on one more client? Do you get a promotion? Figure it out and execute. If your dividend portfolio is generating $50 per month, how do you get it to $100? You add more capital. You increase your monthly contributions from $300 to $500. You cut unnecessary expenses and redirect that money into investments. This is the power of the system. You're not guessing anymore. You're not trying random things and hoping they work. You have a proven model. Now you scale it. Month 10, October. Build resilience. October is your stress test month. You've been executing this plan for 9 months. You're tired. The holidays are coming. This is where most people break. So in October, I would intentionally test my system. What happens if I lose my main income source? Can I survive on my second income stream plus my emergency fund? What happens if the market crashes and my investments drop 30%? Am I emotionally prepared for that, or will I panic and sell? This isn't about being pessimistic. This is about building resilience. The wealthy don't stay wealthy because they're lucky. They stay wealthy because they've prepared for chaos. They've stress tested their systems. They know what they'll do when things go wrong. Run through the scenarios. Write down your response to each one. Make it a principle. If I lose my job, I immediately cut expenses by 50% and live off my emergency fund while I find new work. If the market drops 30%, I don't sell. I buy more if I have cash. These aren't just ideas. These are algorithms that guide your behavior when emotions are screaming at you to panic. Month 11, November. The discipline test. November is brutal. The holidays are here. Everyone around you is spending money. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas shopping. Your family expects gifts. Your friends want to go out. The pressure to spend is massive. This is where 90% of people fail. They say, I've been so disciplined all year. I deserve to treat myself. And they blow $2,000 to $3,000 on holiday expenses. Then January comes and they're back to broke. Don't be that person. In November, you commit to spending nothing extra. No holiday inflation. No, this year is different. You give gifts that cost nothing, your time, homemade food, handwritten letters. You tell your family, I'm building a financial foundation this year. Next year, I can be more generous. But this year, I need to finish what I started. Some people won't understand. Some will judge you. Let them. They're not building wealth. You are. And here's what you do instead of spending. You review the last 10 months. How much did you earn? How much did you save? How much did you invest? Where are you versus where you wanted to be? What worked? What didn't? What principles did you learn? Write it all down. Because November isn't about celebrating progress. November is about protecting progress. It's about crossing the finish line without tripping at the last moment. So that's November. Hold the line, don't break. Stay disciplined because we're almost there. Month 12, December, plan year 2. December's reflection and planning month. If you followed this plan, actually followed it, not just thought about it, here's where you are. You have a $10,000 emergency fund. You have a second income stream generating $50 to $200 per month. You've increased your primary income by 30 to 50% through new skills. You have tools and certifications that make you more valuable. And you've proven yourself that you can delay gratification and execute a plan. In 12 months, you went from zero to solvent. That's huge. But here's the thing, you're not done. You're just getting started. Because now in December, we plan year 2. And year 2 is where things explode. And year 2, you don't have to build the foundation. You have it. So now you can take bigger risks. You can invest more aggressively. You can start that business you've been thinking about. You can buy that rental property. You can leave that job that's been holding you back because you have 6 months of expenses saved and a backup income stream. Year 1 is defense. Year 2 is offense. Year 1 is about not losing. Year 2 is about winning. So in December, sit down and write out year 2. What's my income goal? $100,000, $150,000. What's my savings target? $30,000, $50,000. What's the next skill I need to learn? What's the next investment I make? What does my life look like in 24 months if I keep executing this system? And then you commit to it the same way you committed to year 1. Because here's the truth. Most people never start. Of the people who start, most quit in the first 90 days. Of the people who make it 90 days, most break in November and December. But if you're sitting here in December and you actually did it, you made it all 12 months, you're now in the top 5% of people who try to change their financial life. You're not broke anymore. You're not desperate. You're not starting over. You're an investor. You're building wealth, and next year you're going to build even more. That's December. Plan year 2. Commit to the next level. Let me be very clear about something. This plan works. I know it works because it's the same systematic approach I used to rebuild after 1982. It's the same principles-based method that guided every decision I made for the next 40 years. It's the same system that turned a $4,000 loan from my father into the largest hedge fund in the world. But here's the thing nobody wants to hear. Most of you won't do it. You'll watch this video. You'll nod along. You'll say, yeah, that makes sense. I should do that. And then you'll go right back to doing exactly what you were doing before. You'll keep spending money you don't have on things you don't need. You'll keep hoping something magical happens while you do nothing different. And next year you'll be sitting in the exact same position wondering why nothing changed. Don't be that person. If you're starting 2026 with nothing, you have a choice right now. You can waste another year, or you can commit to this system. Commit not for a week, not for a month, but for the entire year. Because wealth isn't built in moments, it's built in systems. And here's what kills me. The plan I just gave you isn't complicated. It's not some secret formula that requires genius-level intelligence. It's basic. Stop spending. Earn more. Save aggressively, invest in skills, build assets, repeat for 12 months. A high school dropout could do this, but most people with college degrees won't. You know why? Because it's boring, because it's hard, because it requires delaying gratification. You don't get to post screenshots of your portfolio gains on social media after month 2. You don't get to brag at parties about how you're crushing it. You're working 70-hour weeks, eating rice and beans, living at a cheap apartment, and driving a 15-year-old Honda. That's not sexy. That's not impressive. Nobody's giving you likes and comments for that, but it works, and your way doesn't. Here's your reality check. If you've been trying to build wealth for 5 years and you're still broke, it's not the economy. It's not your boss. It's not bad luck. It's your system. You don't have one. You're making it up as you go. You're reacting to emotions instead of following principles. The stock market has returned about 10% per year for the last 100 years. Through world wars, through depressions, through recessions and crashes and bubbles and panics and everything else. That's 10% per year on average. This means if you invest consistently and don't do anything stupid for 30 years, you will build significant wealth. Not maybe, not probably, you will. It's math. It's inevitable, but you'll be tempted to quit. Oh, you'll be so tempted in year 3 when there's a crash and you're down 30% and everyone's saying it's the end of the world. In year 7, when your buddy made 500% on some cryptocurrency and you're only up 80% and you feel like an idiot. In year 12, when it feels like you're running on a treadmill going nowhere and you're wondering if this is even worth it. That's when most people quit. Right before the exponential growth phase kicks in, right before all those years of patience start paying off big time. Don't quit. You've already done the hard part. You've already suffered through the slow years, the boring years, the years where it feels like nothing's happening. If you quit now, all that was for nothing. But if you keep going, if you give it another 10, 20 years, you'll be in the top 5% of wealth in this country, guaranteed. So here's my last piece of advice, and then I'm done. Pick a system. Pick principles that work. Index funds, dividend stocks, value investing, real estate, whatever. Something boring and proven. Something that's worked for decades, and then stick with it for 30 years, minimum. Not 3 years, not 5 years, 30 years. Don't quit when it's hard. Don't quit when it's boring. Don't quit when it's boring. Don't quit when your friends are making more money doing something else. Don't switch strategies every 2 years, chasing the next hot thing. Just keep going. Keep contributing. Keep reinvesting through crashes, through booms, through boredom, through FOMO, through fear. Just keep going. That's it. That's the whole system. Understand the economic machine. Embrace radical truth. Build your foundation, invest in your earning power, create multiple income streams, stay disciplined through the hard months, plan the next year, repeat. You won't get rich in 5 years, probably not in 10 either, but in 30 years, you'll be wealthier than 95% of people in this country. And you'll have done it without stress, without gambling, without getting lucky, just by being patient and not being stupid. I'm 75 years old. I've watched this system work for decades. I've seen it work in booms and in crashes. I've seen it work for people starting with nothing and for people starting with millions. The principles don't change. The machine doesn't change. What changes is whether you have the discipline to follow the system when every emotion in your body is telling you to quit. Most people don't. But you're not most people. You made it this far. You watched a 30-minute video about boring financial principles instead of scrolling TikTok looking for the next meme stock. That already puts you ahead of 90% of people. But we're not done. This is just part 1, the foundation. In part 2, I'm going to show you exactly which 8 dividend stocks I buy with that first $5,000, the 3 highest paying skills to learn in 2026, how to avoid the mistake that costs people $50,000 in year 2. The exact psychological principle that separates people who build wealth from people who fail. Click here to watch part 2 now. These principles took me 40 years to build. I'm giving them to you, but only if you keep watching. And if you want the complete roadmap from 0 to $1 million, check the playlist below. Every phase, every principle, every decision, algorithm,